Cotney Attorneys and Consultants is dedicated to helping the construction industry with legal, business, and safety challenges. Welcome to this week's episode of Law Mortar with John Kenny and Trent Cotney.
Hey, this is Trent Cotney, CEO of Cotney Attorneys and Consultants, and I'd like to welcome everybody to a special 50th episode of Law and Mortar. That's 50. What do you think about that, John?
It's actually hard to believe that we've been doing it already 50 episodes. It's been so much fun and enjoy interacting with our audience the way we do. This is great.
Yep, book them, Dano. It's 50. So we got a lot to talk about. And what I want to do a little bit different this Law and Mortar is focus on some things that we're doing here internally. Some of the great things that are going to come out. And I guess the first thing that I'm kind of excited about is that we're elevating what we're doing here with Law and Mortar, and we're actually in the process of building out our own recording studio and I guess, for lack of a better word, podcast room. So, John, why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we got hooked into our innovation center. We've got an area off of there that we're dedicating strictly to podcasts. It's going to be really, really nice when it's done. We're probably about, I'd say 50% of the way through, but that's what the entire room is going to be dedicated for. So it's going to be soundproof correctly. It's going to have the right sounding equipment. It's going to be a professional looking and operating sound booth area for podcasts. I'm really looking forward to it. We'll actually be across the table from each other instead of at a distance. So I think it'll bring a whole new aspect to the way we do these.
Absolutely, and we're going to be taking live callers and everything else, so it should be interesting. I'm looking forward to it. Stay tuned for that here shortly. Some other things that happened big for us is that we were able to announce finally our office in Ecuador. And for those of you that don't know, we've got Maria Jose Alarcon, who is our international lawyer. She's licensed in both Ecuador and Spain and also New York. And she's heading up that office for us. The reason we opened that office is that we've got significant, South American, Latin American interest and in both legal and on the business and consulting side, and really want to focus on expanding our efforts down there. John, why don't you tell them a little bit about what we're doing from, I guess, a training and educational standpoint?
Yeah, so having Maria down there, being a local native to begin with to the area, born and raised, and then come on over here and then going back makes it so much better transition for all of us. And, and she's worked so closely with us on the consulting side in our international reviews and the business side. So she's worked with us very tightly on the training. So we've already got most of our training programs and our manuals and our training books and education materials already into Spanish. That's, customized right for that area. So it opens up a whole new market. So I can tell you, everybody out there, keep your eyes and ears peeled. Hopefully in the next few weeks to another month or so, there'll be even more, better, bigger announcements coming out in that area. There's a lot of stuff happening down there. Huge import-export market. A lot of stuff exporting, a lot of things importing in for the roofing industry. So it's growing. The roofing industry is taking off down in those areas.
Right, and it's not just roofing. One of the things that had interested me in that country in particular was the sustainability projects that they've got for construction. That's something that was one of the reasons behind us getting involved in South Africa. And I really like what they're doing, combining technology, including 3D printing and some other cutting edge techniques to really make construction more sustainable. With Maria's proximity to Quito, the capital down there, it really gives us just the ability to do anything that we want. And it's going to be fantastic. Really looking forward. It's going to be a great jumping off point for us.
One of our listeners may not realize, I didn't realize this at first either till we got more involved in those areas. Your construction down there, regardless what it is really controlled through the architect and engineer. They're more or less your controlling builder responsible for design, for permitting, for structural soundness. So it's a little bit different market, where South Africa is kind of similar, where they wrap it in that way. But it's an interesting market. Sustainable energy, like you say, is big. Sustainable products and that. So looking forward to all the challenges ahead.
Absolutely. Got great stuff going on there. And then I guess to kind of, put the cherry on top, our training. I think a lot of times I get asked, how is your training different than the traditional, more conventional training that's already out there? And what I like to say is, look, take a look at it. Our digital platform, the production value, the way that we are providing training is unparalleled. And what we are going to do here shortly is be combining training with advanced level technology, including AR, VR, and a lot of other cutting edge, applications that we are integrating. So it is something that is different out there in the space, and we're very proud of it. Obviously, there's going to be a lot more coming out here in the next few months. Stay tuned for that. John, I want to turn a little bit to just a topic in general, and we've had this come up several times, but I think it's probably worth mentioning again. We had a contractor call me earlier in the week, and this person was concerned about negative reviews that they had gotten on some of the key platforms. And their concern is that these customers were talking behind the contractor's back without coming to them first. We're saying things that were false or defamatory and sort of publishing it out there. And I was asked to kind of get involved a couple different ways, see if I could get the reviews removed, but also sending out cease and desist letters, and if it doesn't go, working on defamation claims. So it's interesting, one of the things that I always caution any contractor out there is when you are responding to reviews publicly, it's always good to take the high road, right? And you always need to lead with customer service, even if you completely disagree with everything that's said. Behind the scenes, you can send that cease and desist, you can work towards getting it removed, but remember that your future customer is going to be looking at those reviews. So it's important that you respond, and don't just respond to the negative ones, respond to the positive ones as well. Thank people for taking the time to review. Obviously that's something that's very important. People look at that and I think they appreciate the fact that you're responding. So, John, what are your thoughts there?
No, I think you brought up a couple of valid points. One is you're going to get negative reviews. I don't care who you are. It doesn't necessarily mean it's a reflection on your company. You can do all the right things every day, and somebody will take the low road for whatever reason and try to tear you down. They try to build themselves up by tearing someone else down. And there's also that group of people that will never, ever be satisfied no matter what happens. Important to deal with it on that aspect. Like you said, reply to it. No reply means I hate to say it, you're almost admitting guilt. When it comes to online reviews, you got to reply, say, didn't know about this. We didn't hear about this. Please call us. We'll like to rectify it. And it usually goes away after that because the person that's doing it really had a bull complaint. And if it is totally that way, then, you have a chance of getting it off by putting, complaint into Google. I do agree what you said as far as I think a lot of people forget this when they pass around misinformation, that there's legal responsibility with that as well. So if you're saying things that aren't true, you're putting yourself out there in a liability end. And don't forget to remind some of your customers of that if they do hit you up with that. Say, there's no proof to that. So really shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, absolutely. And call me old fashioned, but if I got a problem with somebody, I'm going to call them, or I'm going to go see them and I'm going to say it, right? And that way it's resolved. I'm not a big believer in going behind somebody's back and doing stuff. I just don't think it's professional, but that's kind of the world we live in now. So
you do. It's easier to hide today.
Yep. As part of our special 50th program, we have one of our longtime listeners, Ken Kelly, good friend. For those of you that don't know Ken, Ken runs Kelly Roofing and is well known throughout the industry. He is an innovator, an entrepreneur, and like I said, he's just everywhere that anytime I'm on the road, people talk great about him. He is part of almost every organization I can think of. So Ken, we always appreciate you listening to us, man. We got nothing but respect and love for you. And he's asked a very good question, and it's about OSHA's heat injury and illness standard. And I'm going to kind of take it broadly. For the longest time, OSHA has enforced heat injury and illness, but has done it through things like the general duty clause. Through a recent decision known as the Sturgill case that happened on the administrative level of OSHA, that judge basically said, OSHA, you don't have a strict enough rule. So OSHA didn't like that. And as a result, we knew that in the Biden administration, they were going to be coming out with a very specific heat injury and illness standard. Now, as part of that, on September 1st and then again on September 20th, OSHA came out with two different press releases. The press releases said that, hey, we are going to create a national emphasis program on heat injury and illness. Okay, that's a big thing. Anytime you have an NEP out on anything, that means that you're going to be targeted, right? And then the next thing is they said they were going to be looking to actively go on any project where the heat index was greater than 80 degrees. And I always joke around, 80 degrees in Florida is a nice winter day. So what my concern is at least with what they have stated so far, is that if that is the case, if OSHA doesn't need anything other than the fact that it's hot to come on your job site, they could easily come on, start asking your crew about things like, have you had a water break? How do you feel? And then notice fall protection violations, or notice that your ladder is not tied off, or notice that you don't have the right PPE. My concern is that they're sort of using that as sort of a stop and frisk type technique where they're justifying the getting in there and then using that to obtain more. So currently they are engaged in the rulemaking process. Okay, we're in the process of preparing our written statement that's going to be submitted to the Federal Register that talks about the issues that we have with the heat injury and illness standard. I do think that heat injury and illness is important from a safety perspective. We have a lot of people, not just in the southern states and the warm states, but in Chicago and the Northeast that die or get seriously injured from heat injury, heat exhaustion. And it's because, we're used to 100-degree heat down here in Florida, but, you get a 90-degree day up in Chicago, that's a rarity. People, we've got thinner blood down here. It's a little bit easier for us to kind of deal with it. So we are going to be doing that. And I encourage everybody that's listening to make sure that you put your 2 cents in, because my big concern from a legal perspective is I don't want this to be the impetus to allow OSHA to just come on any job site when it's hotter than 80. I think there should be a stated reason. There are currently stated reasons for why you should come on a job site. I don't think the fact that it's hot should be one of them. So, John, what are your thoughts on that?
No, I agree wholeheartedly on that. I think a couple points. You're right. Up in the other climate areas of the country, they'll get a 1-week heat wave, which really, when you look at it that way, you basically open the door to OSHA to be everywhere during that week, which is impossible to keep up with. And then your warmer climates, it's normal to work 8-9 months a year at 90 above, even in the southwestern areas. So, and you're taking precautions, but you can't control hydration. You can have hydration on the project. You can have your water break set. But if somebody goes out at night and doesn't rehydrate and all the things that can happen off the job site, that's where they're going to, and I don't think it's fair to be penalized on the job site if something that you can't control, because I'm not sure how you could distinguish whether or not somebody was having a dehydration issue or anything related to heat, how it really happened, what your health conditions and all that are. So I just think it's a Pandora's box and I don't like it at all.
Yeah, and you raised a really good point. It is, you can have water on the job site, you can do hydration breaks, but if they went out partying the night before, they're going to have a real tough time getting on a 100-degree plus roof, right? And the other thing is during lunch breaks, they go grab all these energy drinks. That sucks the water right out of you. Yeah. All that heavy caffeine, that will act as a dehydrating component. So it is difficult. I think other than having hydration breaks, having water on site, and training your crew leaders for the signs of heat exhaustion, it's kind of hard to deal with it. You need to have shade, you need to be watching, but again, I have seen some equipment that will actually monitor that, right? It's not cost effective right now, but there are vests, there are hard hats that have sensors in there that actually indicate what the core temperatures are. Ultimately, something like that we could be seeing that down the road or even mandated down the road. But right now it's just too cost prohibitive. So Ken, I want to thank you for that question. And again, I thank you
Great
and all
question.
our loyal listeners. You guys have made us the #1 construction law podcast in the world, and we plan on staying that way. Got a lot of great things coming for you. As always, you got any questions for me, you can reach me at tcotney@cotneycl.com. John, how can they reach you?
jkenny@cotneycl.com.
Great. Thank you guys very much. You have a great week, and we will see you next week.
Take care.
See ya.